It's time for another part of siventification, baby. Cue the epic intro music. No, actually, you really thought I made fucking intro music. Okay, and here we're back with, as I said, another video of my things. You know, I always said I'm overdue for another longer video, and even though I don't think this is going to be like a 30-minute long video that nobody's going to watch, I still think, it's going to be longer than like the fucking 7-minute long video. It's like, come on, dude. Like, I'm silent. I don't make those. But it's like, yeah, so this would. I'm getting off the point. You're not allowed to get off the point. Not today. I mean, maybe we are if this is going to be like a 20-minute video, but I don't know. Okay, cool. The second episode of Siventification, a series where I'm going to ramble about my thoughts and try to inception you guys, like awake inception you guys into believing the kind of stuff that I believe in. Isn't internet an amazing place? I may be still caffeinated from last night. I'm not sure. I guess onward into my actual thing. I actually do have kind of a script. I'm not going to stick into that, but if you feel like, oh, why is he getting so much more articulate all of a sudden? Well, it's because I'm reading from what I wrote. But what matters is that, well, if I was able to write it this gracefully, doesn't that count as something? Doesn't it? It doesn't, does it? Yeah. That's disappointing. So okay, what if the it seems like I always start everything with these, so I might as well stick with it. I always say that one of the things that's been on my head, but this time it's one of the newer things. See, I'm not sticking to the script, I'm going off script already. One of the sort of newer things that has been on my mind as of late has been this question of how hard is it for a great man to overcome his remaining flaws? Like that's kind of the question, and like I mean, think about it. We all know at least this one guy who we take to be this very great man with very little many flaws. A lot of the times, the fucking flaws he has are not huge flaws. They're not really all that big. They're tiny little things in comparison to how great they are. And, sometimes they're extreme, but, I'm talking about the times that they're not extreme. Because I'm like, you're a great man and you have overcome all these things, then how is it that you can't overcome the silly little things? That's sort of the question. So it's like, how hard actually is it for them? Like what? I mean, like, for example, like, yeah, he's great, but he constantly swears. He's great, but he's afraid of commitment. Yeah, he's great, but he's too worried about his look. He's great, but he smokes, he uses drugs, he's an alcoholic, he has a bad diet, he's lazy, and like some of those, yeah, maybe were not small flaws, but well, considering like, okay, if a guy is like really good when even being an alcoholic seems like a small flaw. Everything is relative. Thank you, Einstein. One of the reasons it appeals to me is because it's a very nice contrast. I'm a sucker for nice contrast. This is like the coolest thing in the world is contrasts. And this is one of those is because, well, to be nice or great or, you know, you need to be able to defeat your demons. And it means that in order for someone to achieve greatness, he's done a lot of demon slaying. But yeah, as I was saying, it's a nice contrast because it's like this guy has defeated so many bigger demons, but this little tiny demon is keeping him from achieving more niceness or more growth. And that sort of causes me to think. I mean, like maybe this small demon to him isn't that small of a demon. Maybe it's actually quite big for him. And now, in case anyone's wondering why I'm only using masculine pronouns, well, it's because women don't have any demons. I don't know. I just find it so interesting because it sort of also invalidates another thing I constantly think about, which isn't a newer thing. That's right, we have two things that have been on my mind, but this one's actually kind of older, a whole lot older. And what it is this idea that in order to beat your problems, you need to grow bigger than your problems, which is a fascinating thing, which I'm going to allow myself just one little detour into that subject because I want to talk about it. I like it because it sort of encompasses what it is to sort of try, to grow, because it never ends. It's like you have some problems and things that are blocking your path, and you overcome them. How you overcome them, you grow bigger than your problems. But then it's like you face bigger problems, and then you have to get bigger than those problems. And it's like it never ends. It's like you're constantly growing and you're constantly being fed this much bigger problems, which are way harder to deal with. And you do that until you die, and then when you die, you can't really grow anymore because you're dead. And nobody knows about afterlife. So that's cool, isn't that? Isn't life just amazing? Like, come on, this is like the coolest thing ever. It's like the entire life is that, unless you're some kind of fucking jellyfish, which refuse to evolve for like millions of years. If you are a human, well, you evolve. Otherwise, you die. You grow bigger than your problems. But I mean, like, how many problems does a jellyfish have? I can't even think of a funny thing about it to say. What problem does a jellyfish have? Like, it's just, I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, that's one of the reasons I like this mindset that you need to grow bigger than your problems in order to beat them. But as I said, the thing I mentioned before, that idea that why is it that big people can't seem to overcome these tiny looking problems, well, that kind of invalidates this because it's like this idea until I realized that other subject, I was like, well, all problems are universally the same size. I was looking at all problems and all things on a global view, which sort of completely disregards what behaviorism is, which in return makes me sound dumb, which in return is a good thing because it means that since I've learned this, which was about 6 months ago, I have grown, I have reevaluated my older thoughts, and as a result, I've come to a newer, more refined opinion, which has made me hopefully a better person. I don't know. I like to think about it that way. But, well, I mean, what behaviorism is, let's talk about that. What is the problem with thinking all problems are globally the same size? And whenever a person, just exceeds a certain amount of growth, they should never have to deal with that problem ever again because it's beneath them. It's so tiny in comparison that they should just run over it with ease. What's wrong with it? Well, I mean, saying it makes me sound stupid. So, I mean, obviously, the flaw is obvious. The problem is, as I said, it sort of just completely disregards behaviorism. And a little insight as to what I mean when I say it disregards behaviorism. Behaviorism is a psychology term, right? It's used, and a part of behaviorism mentions that a lot of what we do is influenced by our history and what we have been taught and our experiences, our past experiences, which completely makes sense. If you have a problem with that, I guess you're entitled to your opinion, but I don't know. What are you, like a transcendentalist? We don't have any of those anymore. And I'm not going to talk about what transcendentalism is because fuck it, should I explain what transcend? Okay, just a small little thing. So, transcendentalism is like the complete opposite side of behaviorism. Because what it says is that in order for humans to keep their actual pureness and to not lose their true self, they should not take into account any sort of mass school of thought, any before experiences, any older history, what people have been told them, and even common sense in order to preserve their individuality. It sounds dumb, it sounds stupid, it's again in complete disregard of behaviorism and social psychology and blah, 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 a whole lot of other terms that make me sound a whole lot smarter. And to no one's surprise, it really wasn't that interesting. But it's interesting for me, I have this theory, which is backed up by nothing but surface level readings, that transcendentalism, as stupid as it was, it led to a whole lot of other important things. Think about it. If you know about romanticism and what it led to, and naturalism, and then as a result populism, which led to socialism, I'm sorry, societism, like what the fuck even is that? Which led to socialism. I'm not going to expand upon those things because I have something to finish. But as I said, what I mean is like, well, maybe not being an obsessive eater or keeping a healthy diet is easy for me, but for someone who, as a kid underwent a famine, perhaps caused by some kind of ongoing war, well, for that person, it's going to be harder to overcome that because as a kid, you underwent famine. There wasn't really anything. And when you grow up and you have access to money, well, now you're going to eat until death parts you apart from your food, which is something very funny. Dying from eating, there's something rather poetic about that. Or maybe I'm just still too caffeinated that it sounds interesting. I don't want it to sound like some high guy on weed being like, look at my head, how weird is my head? And then another guy next to him be like, whoa. I don't want it to come off like that because, yeah, it may sound like that. It may sound like I'm blown away by existing, but it really isn't like that. It's just I'm compassionate about being alive. Is that a sin? I'm not sure. But yeah, if that sort of guy undergoing famine due to war sounded like an extremely detailed story, well, that's because we'll actually know that guy. Although he as a whole doesn't really apply to the point I'm going to make because I'm talking about great men having tiny little flaws, but he is not a great man. Like not at all. He's just a kind of not very nice person. And it's kind of rude. As I said, it's been did I say it? I'm not sure. It's been about 6 months that I've had this idea in my head, so I guess not really all that new, but considering. But as I said, yeah, so 6 months that I've come to this conclusion, new approach on things, and it has had quite an effect on me. It has had two major things. One of them are in regard of myself. And the effect it had on me is that it has helped me to understand the actual scale of my little flaws that I until now thought are little flaws, and I was always ashamed of myself. I was like, Simon, you are a very great person. Why is it that you cannot deal with this tiny little worthless things? It's like you're so great, but the flaws you have are such tiny things. It's actually embarrassing for you to not be able to deal with them. But now I understand that not all people have the same scale for their problems. Yes, my problems may not apply to someone else who has had a different experience, a different background, different family, was raised in a different culture, blah, 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 variable, variable, variable. Yeah, it may not have been this hard to them, but to me, it is. Okay, so stop saying this is worthless. This is big for me, and that has helped me deal with them, which is great. So that was the effect it had on me, feeling feeling the stuff that I felt for myself. It helped me get along with myself a whole lot better. And I mean, I already get along a whole lot greatly with myself. It's not a lot of times that I don't get along with myself. I'm not selfish, but I like myself. What is it? Alan Walt was it? I forgot his name. He was like, we owe it to other people to be frankly egotistical because everyone is on some level sorts of egotistical. There isn't any person who is completely deprived of any ego. But yes, the second effect it had, it's the social aspect of that. Whenever I see someone, up until now was like, this guy is so great, but Wouldn't it be great if he didn't have this silly, stupid little quality? Like, why doesn't he get rid of that? Like, you got rid of all these other bad qualities. Why isn't that you can just grow up and get rid of this annoying quality for my sake? You're bumming me out. That's a joke. I care about people's mental health. I usually never say that was a joke, but this is the internet, okay? So I have to, in a sense. My jaw's hurt. I've been smiling a whole lot. It's weird. I've been smiling for 25 minutes. 25 minutes! There we go. That's more like it. Yes. 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 I'm coming into agreement with the length of this video. Okay, cool. I have made a lot of people feel uncomfortable, I'm sure of. The second effect, for Christ's sake, get to the second fucking effect. The second effect, it was unpublic, as I said. It made me understand other people's problems and their problems and their flaws and their problems. In a way that it has helped me understand them a whole lot better, understand the person a whole lot better, which opens a realm of possibilities that were not easily accessed. And going back to my, this isn't like a high guy on weed being like, oh my god, look at my hand. So, oh my, look at how weird is my hand. Like, whoa. You know, going back to that point, I could have just pasted that, but I mean, nothing beats a live impression, does it? I'm really still caffeinated, aren't I? Going back to that point, it's not like I really changed all that much. My behavior has not really changed all that much after, following that past 6 months. Yeah, with me, it has changed, but with other people, like, you wouldn't be like, yes, I haven't really that changed. It's like he understands me a whole lot more. It's the tale with a lot of the things that we do. It's like we do a whole lot of things unconsciously, right? We do them unconsciously. We have no idea that we're doing them. But I feel like there is some merit into understanding them, giving them a name to be able to do them consciously. And this is a subject that I'm going to be talking about. I have it at the ready, but I don't think this channel is quite ready for it. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. I'm trying to be more conscious of the things that we're doing, the positive thing and the negative things that we're doing, because it makes us better. It makes us more aware of what we're doing. If it is so important to us that we're doing it unconsciously, there is some merit into understanding them. And, realizing the actual differences and how problems aren't static, that's a big thing. And we do that unconsciously. On some level, you could say that's what empathy is. So how great would it be to now consciously be aware of that? Next time I see someone, I'm like, wow, this guy is great and he has this very tiny flaw, so it must be very big for him. And you try to piece things together, as I said with the guy with the famine example. It never really took me a second. I was like, well, this guy was a child when war hit and there was famine, and now he's grown and he has access to a lot of money, so obviously he's going to have type 2 diabetes. Obviously. And he's really overweight, he can't really breathe, and all those other things. It's like, that's obvious. And I can do the same now with other people. I'm like, well, he has this little flaw. Maybe it's because, his family problems or the experiences he's had, or the people that are around him, the place he's living, the culture, the friends he's had. And you can, if there is a need for that, you can help them. And with all those said, I feel like we're finally ready to be done with this. I think we did that, and I got it off my mind. It's really cool. Yeah, finally. Like, as I said, I was overdue a really long video that not even my friends were going to watch. But yeah, there's something cool about this. I have talked about all the subjects that I've mentioned on this channel with my friends extensively. Yeah, maybe for you guys, that last video was like 7 minutes long. For my friends, it was 2.5 hours long. Okay, so my friends not watching like the 30-minute video, that's cool. But with this one, I'm not going to tell them that or talk about this before I upload that. And I was like, well, watch that. and then we'll talk. I'm milking views out of my friends. What are friends for, even? But yeah, I'm hoping people find it interesting. I mean, I find it interesting, so that's enough for me, and I have my friends where I can talk to, so I don't really need any other sort of validation or approval to think it's interesting. I just need my buddies. We go out, we have some coffee, and then it's done. We're happy. Talk about it, that's life. But I don't know, I feel like it helped someone. I feel like I've learned a lot through all that. And if you liked it, I mean, like, if this is the first thing you watched and you're watching it right now, like, until here, well, I mean, dude, come on. You're awesome. I don't know, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was informative. I don't think it was that entertaining, yes, because it's just like there's something in the background and there's just one guy talking. It's not really all that entertaining, but it's a person's thoughts in the most raw form. Like it has some kind of value, I guess. So, with all that said, I feel like we are done. Finally got that big video out of my mind. Now I can go to a couple of smaller videos in length. In case anyone's wondering why I'm only using masculine pronouns, well, it's because women don't have any demons. Simply because they are demons themselves.